That 8.4% of the workforce are without work. By the way, according to one think tank, jobs in the north of England are being lost at 4 times the rate of the rest of the country. And it's what we want to talk about today. You can watch the programme as it goes out on the BBC News channel, on the 5 Live website, and you can get in touch throughout the programme via Twitter. Use the hashtag 5LiveDebate or send me a message on Twitter at Vic Derbyshire, or you can always text as well, 85058. So many people gathered here in Salford here today. Let's hear from you just how difficult you are finding it to get work at the moment.
Hi, good morning. My name is Sunaina. I'm 30 years old and I'm from Salford. I'm finding it very difficult to look for a job. I've been unemployed for 6 months and I was made redundant after my maternity leave. I've got a baby to take care of. Childcare is very expensive. I cannot possibly afford it with the salaries that they're offering right now. I speak 4 languages. I've got a degree. I don't know what companies are looking for. I've got my whole inbox in my email full of rejections.
How many jobs do you think you've applied for?
More than 50.
Right.
In the past 6 months.
Do you get letters back? Do you get feedback?
You just get a simple email saying that you were not successful. They just follow a very strict guideline, an online assessment. If you don't click the right button that they're looking for, they just send you an email saying you've not been successful. They don't let you come for an interview. They don't want to see you. They don't want to read through your CV with you sitting on the table, and that is utter ridiculousness.
Are you starting to get demotivated or not?
Well, it's affecting my relationship. I have bills to pay, I have mortgage to pay, and I need a job. I need a job, and I am skilled. It's no good for me to hear that in the Northwest people are not skilled. I do not agree to that. There are many skilled people. It's just that those companies are not giving us an opportunity. It's not fair for us who are finding it so difficult, getting ready in the morning, spending nearly 2 hours online, doing the assessment, leaving my child with my husband so that I can do that, and then after 5 weeks sometimes getting an email saying you were not successful. It's not fair.
Good morning, I'm James, I'm 24. I graduated about 18 months ago, and since then I've made hundreds of applications. I had 3 interviews, one for a job that didn't exist. The peach of these...
What do you mean, one for a job that didn't exist?
I was given an interview for a speculative job that might exist, and never heard anything back after the interview. But
so you didn't get the job that never existed, clearly?
That's correct.
Right, okay. What about the interviews you have had?
One was for the National Theatre, and they had about 300 applications for 5 positions. I was invited for an interview.
What kind of jobs were these?
These were all front of house, so cafe, box office, that kind of thing. I was invited for an interview at which I had to firstly imagine I was cast adrift at sea and plan a strategy to find land. Then I hypothetically sold a glass of tap water. And then there were 2 hours where I was asked to walk around the theatre by stealth, spying on current employees, and then a one-to-one interview. And then the next day I had a phone call, which I was amazed at, that I actually had feedback. And I was told that everything I did was just what they were looking for, until I got to the one-to-one interview, lost control of my arms, crossed them, and that kind of defensive body language was totally inappropriate for their staff.
You are joking.
That's correct.
My goodness. I mean, that kind of absurdity, does that demoralise you?
I've learned to detach myself. It certainly did when I first started looking. I was completely clueless, and when this started to happen, I just didn't know what to make of it. But, I mean, for example, that job for doing effectively bar work, which I've done lots before, there was a 20-page job description full of jargon. I saw another one that for the Barbican, that had another epic job description in which one paragraph with audacity used the term underpinning work streams twice.
Oh, yes. Underpinning work streams twice. If anybody can give me a definition of that by the end of the programme, I would be delighted. For the moment, James, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Alera. I'm 23. I'm a University of Birmingham law graduate. Been unemployed for 8 months. I've been looking for work for about that time now and been very unsuccessful.
Are you signing on?
No, I'm not actually. To be honest, that's just a personal choice for me. I've got very supportive parents, and to be honest, the money wouldn't really do much for me anyway. So my parents are supporting me at the moment.
But is there... I mean, your parents can obviously afford to support you. You clearly live at home. Is there some kind of stigma with signing on?
There is actually. I mean, for me, I find it that it's going to be very, defining that, you are definitely unemployed. I like to just keep positive and just, you know, say to myself, you are going to find work, really. I know that, you know, once I sign on, it's like almost a defeatist attitude, really.
Okay, it'd be interesting to hear if other people feel the same as Alaire on that. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Homa Ellison. I am unemployed last 6 months. I've been looking for a job nearly every day, 10 a week. I apply. I don't get any feedback. I went for interview a couple of times and then never reply back saying what is wrong. I might lose my house next year because I am only on £67.50.
Which is the job seekers allowance.
Which is job seekers, doesn't get anywhere.
So you've got a mortgage to pay?
I got mortgage to pay, which is they pay £100 interest, so I have to find the other £100 to pay, which is,
So how are you doing that?
I can at the moment because my son got a loan, gave me a loan, about £4,000, so I'm paying with that.
So it's a kind of role reversal. Your son is now looking after you.
Yeah, but I have to pay him back. He can't do it forever. So in September, I have no house. I do anything, really. I done credit control, but I am prepared to do anything to pay mortgage.
So by September, there will be a repossession order on your home, will there?
Yeah. I might lose it. At the moment, I'm okay, but with my son help. I mean, government really don't do anything. I mean, they don't know how we feel. They don't live with £67.50 unless they live like us for a year, how to pay bills, how to pay mortgage. They're okay. I mean, they pay rent in full. Why they can't pay mortgage?
Yes, that's right.
Just
if you
interest.
were renting, if you were renting, you would get help, but because you have a mortgage, you don't. Let me introduce some of our guests here today. We have Sam Gemer, who is here. Good morning to you. He's the Conservative MP for East Surrey. He's here speaking on behalf of the government. We have for the Liberal Democrats, John Leach, the MP for Manchester Withington. Hello to you, Mr. Leach. Good morning. And Emma Reynolds is here for Labour. Hello to you. Emma Reynolds is the Labour MP for Wolverhampton North East. Sam Gemer, could you live on £67.50 a week?
I think what I would say is, I mean,
Could
any
you?
level of unemployment is tough.
Sorry, I know you want to say that in a moment, but I'm
unemployment-
asking you a direct question. Could you live on £67.50 a week?
It'll be tough. It'll be tough.
I'm going to ask the same of the other MPs. Mr. Leach.
Well, I've been unemployed. When I left university, I was unemployed for 8 months. I was very lucky that I was able to live at home. So while I was signing on, I was able to survive on what the benefit was at that time. But I don't think I would have been able to survive on it if I'd been living on my own in other accommodation.
Emma Reynolds, could you do it?
I agree with John. I don't think I'd be able to live on that much. I was unemployed.
So why do politicians expect other people to live on that a week?
I think...
Sorry, do we have an answer from a politician?
No, I mean, what we've got to... The reason why we've got a number of work programs in place, specifically the work program in
Apologies,
which...
can I come back to the question? Why do politicians, and you're speaking on behalf of the government,
Yes.
why do you expect other people without work to live on that per week?
I don't think people... I mean, firstly, if someone's on job seekers allowance often, there is...
No, I'm
There
going
are
to
other
challenge you.
benefits.
No, it's wrong. I'm going to challenge you. You
Please,
don't know.
please do challenge me.
No, I'm going to challenge you because you don't know how we live. £67.50, how can you pay £80 just for electricity, gas, your bills? £80 a week. Sometimes it's 100, depends.
But that is... But that is...
I don't put my light on at night because
Yes.
I'm saving.
Yes.
I don't put my TV, I don't put electricity on to get warm because in case it's going to be more every month. It's wrong unless you come, live in my house.
What you think happens in reality and what actually happens and what you think happens are two different things. They're not the same. They're not the same. So you need to take away from this debate that things are not the same.
Okay, there's a
Well,
lady over
I
here who wants to
totally
speak, and then
understand that.
Sam.
I would like to answer that question,
Of course,
yes.
but let this... Sorry.
Hiya, I'm Robert Chowdhury John, and I'm a former student from University of Salford. I disagree with the point of being on benefits is defeatist. I believe that you need the benefits to survive, but it's still not enough to survive on. I still have to pay my rent, service charge and my rent. Even though I get housing benefit, I still have to pay a service charge. I still have to buy my food in, and it's not enough money to get a decent shopping. I need to, like, you know, buy stuff to clean myself, wash myself, whatever. So, and I've been looking everywhere. I've been volunteering for jobs because I'm like a freelance cameraman, actor and photographer. So I've been trying to get a job and everything, but like for the past 2 years, and it's flipping hard. So one thing, and it isn't defeatist at all. You need money to survive, and the government just ain't cutting it. They're lining their own pockets.
Rosalind Birch, I'm 40 from Ashton-under-Lyne and was made redundant in November of last year from a government-funded initiative called Aim Higher. I've currently applied for about 67 jobs at the moment, 7 last week, of which I've had 5 knockbacks already. So the point that was made about employers not giving you any feedback, it's just a cursory, you know, standard email. I've taken to getting in touch with the HR departments and demanding some feedback now, because I want to know where I'm going wrong. I've got a degree, I'm a qualified teacher, MVQ assessor. Where am I going wrong? What's wrong with my application?
Can I ask the politicians that we have here today, do you accept the point made earlier that there are 2 different realities? There's the one that the politicians think is happening out there in the country, and actually what is genuinely going on with people's lives?
We are aware of the reality. I am aware of the reality. And that is why we're taking a lot of measures. For example, let's start on cost of living. The reason why we've frozen council tax, the reason why we put so much emphasis on keeping interest rates low is because we know there are a lot of people who are having a tough time, and one of the biggest costs is obviously their mortgage. The reason why
and the interest rate decision is nothing to do with the government, let's be fair, it's the Bank of England.
No, but the interest rate's low is because we're taking the right steps as far as the deficit is concerned. Now, another reason is cutting fuel duty. The reason why we're focused on that is for a lot of people, fuel is a big and important cost. So we are aware of that reality and doing everything we can to keep the cost of living down. Okay. But the most important thing, if I may continue, for everyone is getting into work to be able to earn a living. And what's interesting here is people are applying for work, and we believe that people want to work. And what we want to do is make that possible for them. And how are we going to do that? The first is job creation. The National Infrastructure Plan, which has got 500 new projects coming, is a 5 billion project.
Like to challenge you. Do you know that in the Northwest, thousands of local authority workers will be thrown in the scrap heap because of your government in the next 6 weeks? Do you know that these figures would be actually over 4 million if in fact they registered the number of part-time workers? I would like to challenge you to live on unemployed benefits in Salford for 1 week. I'll organise it to put you in a house and live in the conditions.
Sir, you challenge...
Yes or no? Yes or no? Will you accept the challenge?
I'll challenge you. And
Will you accept the challenge?
Can I give you a challenge?
A politician.
No, can I give you a challenge back?
No.
The people to blame is the previous government. No, you've asked me a question. Can I reply, please? Can I reply?
Let him reply. Let him speak. Don't worry, there's plenty of time.
Can I reply? If there's anyone to blame for why we're here, is the previous government that racked up so many debts that we've got to pay it back. That's where the challenge should be.
They created it, you perpetuated it, made it worse. So I'll organise, we'll meet you on Monday morning in Salford. You're living there on benefits for a week.
Emma Reynolds is the Labour MP for Wolverhampton North East. A lot of it is your fault, last Labour government.
Well, as the gentleman just said, the global financial recession was caused by bankers taking risks with our money, and they're getting paid lots of money to continue doing that. And on Sam's point about the private sector, in the 3 months of last year, for every one private sector job created, there were 13 lost in the public sector. So you can't cut the public sector at such a rate as that gentleman was just talking about and expect the private sector to take up the slack, because it isn't taking up the slack, and we've seen that in the unemployment figures today.
We are going to get the actual facts about private sector job creation versus public sector job losses from our chief economics correspondent in a few moments. But let's hear a few more stories first. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Yeah, it's Eddie Marnell, GMB, North Western Irish region. I'd just like to pull this gentleman up on one statement he just made, in that he says that council tax has been frozen. Well, it has been frozen in the likes of these areas, but down south there's several Tory cities and councils that have been allowed to increase council tax in order to pay for job losses or possible job losses. The other point is, with regards...
I'll tell you what, sir, I want to hear some more stories from people who've been trying really hard to get jobs. So, hold that other thought, because we've got plenty of time, I promise you. Yes, hello. Good morning.
My name's Amanda Bickerton. I work for Church Action on Poverty, and I would like to challenge the politicians here on a couple of points, really, about the reality of living on benefits, of being, in the rhetoric of current language, workless. Work should pay is the justification for keeping benefits at subsistence level. But don't forget what you're going to do about in-work poverty. More than 50%, just over 50% of children living in poverty now are living in households where at least one adult is working. 1 in 10 live in households earning 40% or less than the median income, and there's an adult in work in the household. Is that okay?
We've got some employers here, and we'll talk to them about the kind of rates of pay they offer to people that they take on. Morning, sir.
My name's Toby, I'm 21, I'm from Surrey, and I'm currently employed.
You're currently employed?
I'm unemployed.
Right, okay.
I've been searching for a job now for 2.5 years. I've applied for at least 500 jobs in maybe 3-4 months. Back to what the Conservative MP said earlier about it being a struggle to live off of what we live off a week. With Job Seekers Allowance, I fall into the 18 to 24 bracket. We get £53.45p a week. That's £106 a fortnight. Now, out of that...
How do you do it?
It's hard. I mean, I have to literally scrimp, save, beg and borrow if I have to. I mean, I'm left at the end of every 2 weeks when I get my money, £21 to myself. And out of that £21, I have to make sure I have enough food for a week and a half until I next go to the job centre and when I next get paid. And what's even more appalling than that is my own mother is in the same bracket as in a bigger bracket than me, but yet she gets £10 less than me. She has arthritis and she has to look after a 6-year-old and a 16-year-old. And the government find it okay to turn around and take money off of her and say, we're sorry, but we have to make cuts.
Why do you think you can't get a job, Toby?
I come from the hospitality industry. I was made redundant in 2010. Since then, I have looked for every job, KP work, restaurant work, anywhere. I really couldn't care what work I do as long as I get paid for a living and come off the dole. But every job I look for is managerial. Now, for me to go into managerial work, I have to be able to go on a course to learn about how managers work. Then I have to find a job as a manager for a certain amount of years, and from that, I just keep progressing. But at the same time, how can I go on these courses when I am earning so little in money and not being able to be employed at the same time?
What does it make you feel like to be out of work?
It's degrading, to be honest. I mean, I've had to have hand-me-downs from people I live with. I live in a residential charity, which is a back-to-work scheme encouraging you to get back up on your feet and look for work and look for alternative accommodation. I was homeless before I went there. I had nothing in the way of clothing, and I've had to borrow clothes. I've had people pass me clothes that don't fit them no more, and that's purely because I do not have enough money to be able to go out and buy myself new clothes as and when I want to, and when I need them.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm Matt from Hull, and I've been unemployed for 18 months with only a temporary job in between since I've left college. And just to pick up on what the Conservative MP talks about is that there aren't enough jobs to fulfil the 2.6 million people unemployed. There is at most 500,000 jobs in the UK at the moment, and he's got the cheek to sit there and tell us that we need to get ourselves back into work. Where I'm from in Hull, BAE Systems, the supposed private industry that's going to, bail us out of this recession, is just closed its manufacturing plant. That's 900 skilled jobs that have gone from the area. Reckitt's, the other big factory employer, is talking about restructuring and outsourcing its work, and he's got the cheek to sit there with his, with his Tory money, with his government made up of millionaires, is going to tell ordinary people that we've got to get ourselves back into work when the jobs aren't there. It's disgraceful.
So, Matt, what should the government do in your view?
Well, instead of awarding the bankers bonuses, why don't we reinvest in hospitals, youth services and schools? Instead of awarding those who put us in this situation, why don't we invest into the people that can take us out, which is ordinary people, the young people who need jobs and the training to do those jobs, instead of taking the future away and throwing us on the scrap heap.
So when Stephen Hester of RBS finally decided he wouldn't take that £1 million share bonus, what did you think?
Well, it was about time, but it shouldn't have been awarded it in the first place. And the fact that the banking sector in general is a law to itself and can award themselves £1 million bonuses for failing, for putting us into this situation, it's frankly disgraceful, and change is needed. And if your government isn't prepared to do it, then we need a government or a party that is prepared to do that.
But just to be clear, Matt, are you saying back then when Labour was in government that they shouldn't have bailed out those banks that were teetering on the brink?
They should have nationalised the banks, and instead of allowing them to keep their profits in order to line their own pockets, should have reinvested all the money that those banks were creating and put them into public services to get people into employment and give people the services that they deserve. We're hearing about housing benefit and the difficulty in finding houses. Why don't we build council houses? Why don't we build social housing with affordable rents? These are not difficult decisions unless you're more interested in awarding bankers bonuses than giving people the futures that they deserve.
Sam Geemer, do respond to what Matt from Hull has been saying.
Well, if they were not difficult decisions, the last Labour government had 13 years to sort a lot of this out, and they didn't. Now, and this is, I'm not just trying to say deflect attention. Matt, I'm not trying to deflect attention. What I'm trying to say is, there wasn't a rosy world before the coalition got into government. The coalition got into government to sort out an almighty mess. And we are in the middle of trying to do that. Now, you talked about building schools and building hospitals, etc. That's what the National Infrastructure Plan is there for. Now, I'm not saying...
You mean privatise with academies instead of actually bringing public schools, private people?
Can I finish?
There is no investment into public services. You've got a privatisation agenda to smash the public sector. It's as simple as that.
Matt, let him respond.
Matt, please. We ring-fenced NHS expenditure, and we were the only party to go into the last election saying we were going to ring-fence the NHS. So please do not sort of take on myths about our position and say that's the reality. The reality is that we are trying to sort out a difficult mess, and it's not it's difficult, and I understand it's not easy. But look at apprenticeships. We understand that for a lot of young people to get work, some retraining needs to be involved, and that's why we're spending records amount of money on apprenticeships. We've got the youth contract, which the CBI have come out and backed, which is $1 billion for young people to get into work. We are subsidizing the national insurance effectively that private companies would be paying to take on young people, because if you're young, the biggest problem is if you haven't got experience, it's difficult to get a job, and you can't get a job unless you've got experience. And we're really trying to tackle that at the root cause. So, but do not take the idea that because it's Conservatives, we don't care. We care very much. We're investing £5 billion on the work, £3 to £5 billion on the work program to get 3 million people into work. That is real money that we're in real commitment.
This is 5 Live, and this is the BBC News Channel, and we're talking about unemployment and the difficulties that people are finding when they're trying to get a job. We have the latest unemployment figures out this morning. They are up again to 2.67 million people. Yes, hello. Morning.
My name is Johnson Awotula, a student of Salford University, reading criminology and sociology. I've been searching for a job for the past months now, probably 3, 4, 5 months now. And what I get, the reply was that no experience. I wonder where the experience will come from if you are not employed. And the point is that the government is not doing anything. The coalition is not working, to me. And we can see the representative from the Conservative trying to blame I'm not a politician, blaming the past government. To me, I think that there's ranges of opportunity, works, or that the government should do for the people to get jobs, especially the youth. The North will be the most rising part of unemployment in the history of unemployment in UK.
Okay, well, can I just talk about the stats today with John Pienaar? He's our chief political correspondent. If you look at unemployment figures over years gone by, 2.67 million, 8.4% of the workforce now out of work. Is this now a crisis for the coalition government?
It's a political crisis. A crisis is in the eye of the beholder, but most people would say this amounts to a crisis. And the figures that we're seeing today, which follow the pattern of the figures in previous quarters, they only tell a part of the story. I mean, we've heard already that we have a rising number of people in the unemployment total. There's an enormous number of people who don't feature in that total, an enormous number of people in part-time work with limited prospects, low-paid, short-term, part-time contracts. And at the end of that contract term, no guarantee of a job at the end of it. The government's principal answer to all of this is the work programme. Heard a great deal about that. It's a £5 billion scheme meant to help 3 million people over 5 years, which is a fine-sounding aspiration. But when you look at some of the detail there, lots of worries about all of that. A big involvement for work placement schemes, including no pay for people on those schemes. For training schemes, again, short term, worry that people are being cherry-picked. So the people most likely to find work are being, it's suggested, picked out by the companies and others providing the service to be given or found work, while people who are harder to get jobs for are left to languish. That's part of the argument. So even the figures tell only a part of the story.
Well, we'll leave John Pienaar and Victoria Derbyshire. We will return to that debate in Salford, but let's take you to the Bank of England, because Sir Mervyn King is publishing the quarterly GDP and...
who've done that, and to encourage them to give it a go with us.
Okay. So, lady over here, hello.
Hello.
Tell us who you are and where you're from.
I'm Sally from United Utilities. I agree with Norman in terms of what we need to do as large employers. We get an awful lot of applications for each job we have. We'll have an average of 50, and we have some highly skilled jobs as well. And I think that actually getting people to think about what they're applying for is really important, and actually take genuine care, because it is competitive. But I think what we're trying to do as business is what Norman said, is work with some of those people who are least likely to get work. We work with a partnership in Warrington who are long-term unemployed, because I think that really resonates with us, that for some people it will be easier to get back into the job market. One of the things that we can do is work with people who are going to find it much harder.
Okay. Hello, good morning.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm from Lancashire and I'm unemployed. I've been unemployed for about a year and a half. I'm one of those people that don't appear on the statistics. I believe there's 6.3 million, according to the TUC, unemployed. I think it's a crisis that shouldn't be put down to this blame game that we've currently got going on in the studio between Labour and Conservative. I think it's more about all of you letting the people down in the North West. I think I would like to say, very cheekily, if there are any employees out there, I've got a degree and a postgraduate. I'm a teacher. And
I mean, that is
like
relevant.
To see me after this show.
You have a degree.
I have a degree.
You have journalism qualifications.
Yes.
You have a teaching qualification.
Yes.
You've worked in a marketing role.
Yes.
And in fact, when you were made redundant from that marketing role, that's when you decided to do the teacher training.
That's correct. Yeah.
And weren't able to get a job.
I've gone from one recession into another depression, I think. But I think that the reason that I feel let down by all you politicians, be it Labour, be it Conservative, and I do think it's unfair to blame this Conservative MP who's come today, because the reason we are let down is because he doesn't have any power to affect change, neither do you. What we need is a joint voice, a national regional assembly for the North West, where we could apply for the funding that the North West needs for the skills sectors that we're short from here. We're in a deprived community and we need to give a stronger voice to the government. There are 200 people here, all unemployed, that have come out of their way today. They deserve a round of applause from all you people, because they're the ones who you're letting down. We need a joint cross-party sort of assembly like they have in Wales and Scotland. We need grants for start-up businesses. We need youth unemployment to be tackled by skills providers who attach themselves to employees within the community. We need... why is it none of these MPs support a free education system for young people who are gifted and need to go to university? And particularly the Liberal Democrats who said they would before they got elected and then forgot about the policy after they got elected. And
well,
I think...
Go on, you want to respond to that? I'm not sure
apart from
how you can defend that. But
apart from the fact that I voted against the increase in tuition fees, I would point out that when we had coalition discussions with both Labour and the Tories, both Labour and the Tories said that that was one of the issues on which they wouldn't budge and that we had to give way on tuition fees. But personally, I would never have supported...
Why didn't you stand down and stand up for what you believe in then?
Well, I did stand up for what I believed in, and I voted against an increase in tuition fees.
Michael, before we move on to another contributor here today, and thank you for your contribution,
You're welcome.
can you tell me what words would you use to describe how you feel about being unemployed?
I feel humiliated. I feel like it's... I feel like it's my fault. Getting emotional. Sorry.
I
feel like
no
it's...
need to apologise.
I knew I shouldn't have come. There's lots of people who haven't come who deserve jobs in my community. There aren't those vacancies available, unfortunately. And one particular girl last year from Darwin, for example, she was called Victoria. She was called Victoria Harrison. She was 21. She went to university to study media in London. She had 10 O-levels. She had 3 A-levels. She came back to Darwin, near where I live. She applied for over 200 vacancies. She didn't get any responses. And unfortunately, Victoria took her own life 2 years ago.
Oh, gosh.
These are the people. This is a social implication of having high unemployment. The government are too much on the side of big business sometimes to keep the wage level low, I believe.
Okay, I need to...
think...
Michael, I want to bring in some politicians to respond to that tragic story you just told us. Sangina.
Michael, well, firstly, thanks for your contribution.
Welcome.
And thanks for, I think, widening the debate. There's a lot that needs to be done.
Yes.
And I think you're right to say in the north there are particular challenges that the government needs to deal with. And
yes.
one of the things we've got is the Regional Growth Fund. And the purpose behind that is 2.4 billion.
It's not enough.
Okay, that's, well, helpful to know. I mean, obviously I can relay that, but it's 2.5 billion, but it's precisely to do the sort of thing that you're talking about, grants and loans for businesses in the north. But also we're looking at the way the local government works, so elected mayors, for example, so that you can have a stronger voice. Yeah, and I think these are, so we are aware. Obviously, there's more that can be done. There's always more that can be done.
Isn't that
and it's great to hear from you.
We need Tories and Labour Party and Liberals to all work together for the benefit of the community.
For the Labour Party.
Not work against each other. We need you all working in partnership for the North West so we can get the funding that we need desperately for the young people and for everybody else.
I think you're right, Mike, and that's what the coalition was about, you know, that we joined up with.
Where's the Labour Party in your coalition? North West is predominantly Labour supporters. We need you all together working for everybody.
The country rejected Gordon Brown.
Can I just say, I admire you, Michael, for coming here today and telling us your story, and also James, who you know, thought it was a wonderful optimism that you had about, you know, and you sort of saw the funny side of them, the absurdity of it, as Victoria said. I think it's a healthy thing that we have an opposition in our country, which is challenging the government to do more than it is, and is saying that the government are complacent, in particular about youth unemployment. I don't want to go into government with the Tories. That's not why I got into politics. I think there should be a choice for people as to who they vote for at the next general election. So I think it's really important that there are voices in opposition saying when they think the government are doing the right thing, but also saying when they don't think the government are doing the right thing and pushing them to go further. And I think youth unemployment in particular, and in today's figures it's going up at a faster rate than unemployment for adults, is a big scar for those young people who come out of university and can't find a job.
But as David Miliband said, the coalition didn't invent youth unemployment.
No, of course course not. I'm not saying that. But
so did you take your eye off the ball when you were in government?
Well, we had a Future Jobs Fund, Victoria, up until May 2010, which offered an apprenticeship or a training place to young people out of work for 6 months or more.
Mixed results, even you'd agree.
Well, we got 100,000 people onto that scheme.
And how many were still in a job 6 months later?
And then 2 years later, to be fair to Nick Clegg, he realised the seriousness of the situation, a little too late for my liking, but they've got this new scheme. It's not as good, I think, as the previous scheme, but we want to see that going ahead.
OK. Gentleman over here. Good morning.
Hi, my name's Adam. I'm 24 and I go to the university in Manchester. I did just find a job yesterday, but...
Well done. Congratulations.
To be fair, I've never really had a problem finding a job. My opinion's probably not going to be well received, but basically, why is it always somebody else's fault? Why is there so much pressure on the government to be able to go out there and find you a job? Basically, when are we going to start taking personal responsibility for our own lives, for our own actions, and stop blaming other people? We need to be creative, diversify your job expectations, and take initiative.
OK, who agrees with that? Or not? I don't mind either way. Do you want to respond to that?
From the Rathbone Youth Charity based in Manchester. We work with thousands of young people whose lives are being affected by unemployment and their families' lives are being affected by unemployment. Yes, I get the personal responsibility bit. It is up to young people to make the future for themselves. But when you're dealing with massive family crisis and things like that, it's kind of difficult really as well. What we would like to see is politicians looking at the education system. Why are our young people completely ill-prepared for work? Most of them haven't got a CV. They haven't got a covering letter. They don't use a telephone with any confidence. We need to start teaching those skills at school.
OK. Hugh Pym, our Chief Economics Correspondent, wanted to come in here.
Yes, just to pick up a theme that's come out in the last few minutes or so, is the idea of a sort of divide in the UK between low unemployment areas and high unemployment areas. There's a very stark contrast between the south-east of England and the south-west. Unemployment rate about 6%, and the north-east more than 11%. And travelling the country, covering stories about business and the workforce and so on, you see the West Midlands, Jaguar Land Rover creating 1,000 new jobs, really expanding, exporting. I did a piece on the motorsport industry in the East Midlands. They had 100 jobs for engineers and they couldn't fill them. And yet you go to other parts of the country, there aren't those employers. There are different issues, different challenges. I think that's a major question for policymakers, and this point about education. I talk to employers and they do say we don't have the maths and the English language skills of recruits. So I think there are a lot of questions that have come up here, north-south divide, education and so on, which are real challenges.
Yes, hello.
Hi, it's Max Palmer here from Globex Recruitment. I actually have a UK company based in recruiting in itself. Just a question to the Conservative person there. What efforts are you actually helping businesses to basically expand, or to help people like myself to basically take staff on in the UK? In itself, there's nothing which I found as grants, taking on staff. Maybe it doesn't matter if that person's left from school, college, or if it's a university person. I'd like to hire these people. You know, I'm actually looking for people at this moment in time. We are actually in a global market. Maybe the UK is not thinking that they're in a global market anymore, but the day you think that, you'll be going backwards, which this country has been going backwards.
Before Sam Gamey from the Conservatives answers that, I want to say thank you to viewers at the BBC News Channel. Sam, how would you respond to this gentleman here?
Thank you. And with that, thanks. We will return to Victoria a little later with that live debate at BBC Media City in Salford after 11 o'clock, when we'll bring you the headlines. But before that...
Experiences of the various programmes that the government's launched to try to get people back into work, what you think of them, and also to talk about job centres and the staff at Job Centre Plus and whether they are effective enough. Hello, good morning.
Hi, I'm Anthony, I'm 21, I'm unemployed from Stockport. Talking about the job centre, you're meant to be offering your assistant, you get a personal advisor to help you apply for a job. No, it is an offence to the job centre, but I'd say I'm better knowledge to some of the job centres. They apply for jobs for me and I still don't get anywhere, and they're meant to be more knowledge than I am. I can safely say that it'll live up to the name of the joke centre.
Right, OK.
Definitely.
So there's no tailoring specifically to you and your skills and what you could offer?
No, it doesn't seem to be. Like I said, they're applying for jobs for me and they're meant to be the ones that are in the knowledge, but I'm still getting knocked back. They still can't tell me where I'm going wrong, and they're meant to be the ones that are qualified to be able to help us gain employment.
OK. Hello. Morning.
Hello, I'm Sarah from West Cheshire College, and we've got a unique relationship with Job Centre Plus, and it all came about.
What do you think of them?
Our local Job Centre Plus are great, but that's because we've worked really hard to make it work for the people in our area. We know that there are jobs that employers can't fill in our area, and you've been talking about some of those that people have sent in to you. So we work with Job Centre Plus to set up a programme that matches the skills, qualifications and experience to the jobs, and then works with people to give them those skills, qualifications, experiences to get the jobs. The issue is that sometimes Job Centre Plus's own rules get in the way. So you can only actually learn for 16 hours maximum a week, and you can only learn for 9 months. There are some qualifications and skills and experience you can't get in 9 months at 16 hours a week. So the gentleman over there who wants to work in the hospitality industry, we could make him a trained chef and we could get him a job, but it would take us more than 16 hours a week for 9 months. So it's like bringing a barrier in to stop us doing that.
Morning.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm 22. I've been unemployed since I finished my degree at Oxford University in last June. I would say my experience of the job centre is that if you're a graduate, they just don't know what to do with you. You come in and you say, well, I've got a degree, and they go, oh, that's great. Isn't your university helping you get a job? And it's like, that's not what university is there for. It's given me the skills to get a job, but there isn't a job out there for me. You're meant to be helping me. And then they say things like, have you not got any contacts? And this is really hammering home to me the fact that it's who you know, not what you know in the current job market. It's, you know, have you got a dad's friend who can, you know, put you in making tea for someone else? And
do they even ask you what your degree is in?
Well, they do. I mean, my degree is in history and politics, and they're just sort of like, well, they ask me, what does that qualify you to do? They're just at a loss with what to do with graduates, and I just don't understand where, if you can't get the help from there, where is it meant to come from?
How many jobs have you applied for, do you think?
Over 100 since I finished my degree.
Do you get responses? Do you get feedback?
Very rarely. I've never had any feedback. I've had, you know, the few sort of cursory, sorry, not this time. The only one interview that I've had was for a retail position.
What do you really want to do? What job would you love to do in an ideal world?
I would, currently I volunteer for the Citizens Advice Bureau as an advisor, so that's like advising people who are unemployed and things like that. And I would love to do something sort of social policy, public policy related. I think when you come from an area that is quite depressed, such as Manchester, Salford, you see a different side politicians don't often see, and you do realise that, you know, £67.50 is a very difficult thing to live on.
Over here.
Hi, I'm Alex. Hi, I'm Alex. I'm 19 and I'm from Stockport. And just going back to Anthony's point and that young lady over there, the job centre really, from my experience, helps no one. I mean, I went there every fortnight. You know, I had to show that I was applying for work, and then from then, you know, usually it was a 5-minute appointment to say, OK, see you next week. I could have just gone in, not applied for any jobs whatsoever. You know, whenever I needed help finding a job, they didn't help me. You know, I didn't even know what a covering letter was. And in the end, I just used my own initiative to find a course with the fire service.
And by the way, I should tell listeners and viewers, this is Alex, who's recently got a job as a lifeguard. And you did that off your own back, effectively.
Can you just repeat that?
You did that off your own back?
Yeah, I thought, well, the job centre's not helping me. I'm not getting help from anywhere else. So I thought, OK, it's time for me to go out there and find myself something.
Hayley Taylor, what's your experience of job centres and how they help people, or otherwise?
The otherwise comes in there.
OK.
Relating back to the lady that was saying that she didn't want to go and sign on, she didn't want to receive the benefits. Having seen the job centres, how they operate, it's hardly surprising. They have security on doors. They're supposed to be there to help you. You get, like you've already been said, a 2-minute appointment. What good is that to anyone? And the same question over and over. What have you done this week to find work? You know, that qualifies you for absolutely anything. What about what they've done to help you find work? What about all the new vacancies that have come in that they are matching to you? It doesn't, you know, I honestly do not understand why it is there. I really don't.
Exactly. Sorry, there's somebody off mic here. Wait till we get a microphone to you.
That.
Go on. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make the point about the Job Centre Plus. I've lost all faith in it completely. I've been in the job centre like a couple of times, and the staff who are meant to be searching for my job are looking for their own jobs. Because there's that many cuts to the staff in the Job Centre Plus. And it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Hello, my name's Anthony. I'm from Middleton. I just want to take that point the guys just said there. I am a qualified connections personal advisor and youth worker. The job centre are really struggling to help me. And in fact, they're quite empathic, so they're kind of stumbling around trying to help me, but knowing that their jobs are also on the line. But I'm looking for a particular kind of support in developing my own business in a social enterprise kind of way. As it happens, I've done most of the work myself, but there doesn't seem to be the understanding of what I'm trying to do. And also they're kind of encouraging me and saying, just listen, just play the game. Just write a few things down that you're looking for a few jobs. And
what does that mean, playing the game? That's to keep the benefits
game to be played is
coming.
basically they've got a management and they've got targets to achieve. They want their clients who are coming in to demonstrate on the system they're looking for work. In reality, I'm not looking for work because the environment I've been working in for local authority is so toxic in terms of the managerialism and the amount of work that's being put on people's caseload working in the community. My colleagues who are still working now are saying to me, you're better off out. And I found that my mental health is much stronger now, but unemployed since September than it's ever been. And I'm actually feeling more positive, and I'm starting to get leads, and we're looking at developing a successful business working in communities, giving people a voice to organise themselves. And I believe that's the future. I don't think we can look to the government and look to the hierarchies who are very detached in terms of what is actually going on in the community. I think people have got to, in their own communities, organise themselves and raise their own voices. And I believe that's the answer for the future.
Okay. Hello.
My name's Simon from Salford. I've been unemployed about 6-7 months now. I'm an out-of-work bricklayer. Unfortunately, I come out of an apprenticeship in 2008, which is probably the worst time to come out of an apprenticeship. In my experience, the job centres, it all depends on who your advisor is. They've all got their own rules for every one of them. I went on a Learn Direct course as an incentive to get me CSCS card paid for, which is an health and safety card that gets you back on site. And that was like trying to get blood out of a stone for weeks and weeks and weeks. I mithered for that course. I had a new advisor. She got me it straight away. She picked up the phone and got me on the course.
So it depends on the individual.
Of course it does, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, somebody said it's not the job centre's fault. I'm not blaming the job centre. I'm literally saying they've got to help us a lot more than they actually do.
Okay. Hello.
Hello, my name is Naopia. I'm 26. I'm currently studying at the University of Salford. I'm originally from London. My particular job centre was absolutely rubbish. Of course, we did the normal 2 minutes, what have you done looking for work. Eventually, from another friend of mine, I heard that they're supposed to give you a CV sort of appointment or workshop. I then booked it in, which was supposed to be a 30-minute slot. The lady just handed me a bunch of brochures and said, here you go, that'll help you. But really, in reality, you know that each job has a specific type of CV format. This was something I then had to go along and find out on my own. Another friend of mine, the same one who had told me that you're supposed to have a CV doctor workshop thing, lived in Elephant and Castle. I found myself going all the way to Elephant and Castle in the hope that the job centre people in that area would be more helpful, which they were, but unfortunately I wanted something that would eventually help me to get a degree, which I'm now doing, which then brings me to the point of apprenticeships. Most of the apprenticeships that I am aware of are for 16 to 24-year-olds. As a 26-year-old, I am stuck in between groups that I don't even know. So at this point in time, I'm having to actually make my own work experience because basically there are no apprenticeships, there are no work experiences, there aren't even part-time jobs. So I don't know who's supposed to help you do what. I don't know who's supposed to be advising those who are shy of the 16 to 24 bracket.
We'll get a government response in a moment, but hello. Hi, Toby.
Yeah. In response to what Alex said earlier, I mean, it's similar. My local job centre, last time I went to sign on, they didn't even look at my job centre book. And that tells them everything that you've looked for in the past week and a half since you last signed on. Now, what is the point in signing that book when they're not looking at it? And
I mean, they are probably overwhelmed, aren't they? Yeah. There are probably not enough of them dealing with the numbers of people who are coming in for help.
My local job centre, when I sign on a Wednesday at 20 to 12 in the morning, is dead. They are absolutely dead, so they have time for anyone that is in there. However, it's just 2 minutes, back out, look at the job point, out the door.
Okay.
And with the work experience that they offer, I've been offered work experience once, did 2 weeks, and then after that they didn't offer me any other work experience placements. Right. They've not even asked if I'd like to do another work experience placement.
Okay. This is a parochial bit of news, and it's very insignificant compared to what we're talking about today, but some of you who are tweeting as you're listening and watching on the BBC News channel and on BBC Radio 5 Live, you are also tweeting using the hashtag 5Live debate, which I'm told is now trending across the world. As I said, it's quite insignificant in the scheme of things, but it means that people are engaged in the debate today.
Hello, my name's Anna Young. I live in York, and I used to live in London. I'm trying to get back to London for perhaps obvious reasons. Now, the job centre really frustrates me. Excuse the voice, but the job centre really frustrates me. As a person with a disability who uses a wheelchair, they just really don't want to know. I do know I have a law degree, I have a philosophy degree and a psychology degree, and I actually do care about the basics. I know how to spell, and it's just really frustrating because as an individual, although I'm sympathetic towards everybody in this room, you often have to try harder if you use a wheelchair.
Right. Is that, you've genuinely come across that, have you?
Yes, I have come across that. And when I've gone to interviews, sometimes the employers don't want to know. And can I give, another point, job centres, they're not that educated, actually.
It's a bit of a generalisation, Anna.
I accept. I'll rephrase that expression. Often the people that you speak to cannot be that educated. I approve of networking. I think networking, sometimes you can get quite a lot of opportunities.
Okay. Rob on Twitter says, I agree that approaching a job centre, degree in hand, is an impossible situation because they are not equipped or prepared for graduates. Dave Sharp says the job centres don't help. They just accuse people of not applying for jobs. They seem to be more focused on sanctions than getting people into work. Steve says, this is a great debate. I represent a training provider working in a unique partnership with Morrison, the social housing contractor. We're operating a scheme for 16 to 18-year-old NEETs, a very hard to reach group. The model is that they work through practical-based qualifications and then onto genuine work placements with Morrison. The scheme's working well, 75% progression with one NEET now on a full Morrison apprenticeship. We've also used Hayley Taylor, the fairy job mother with some of these groups, on how to prepare for work and some motivational work to good effect. Chris says, all these people whining about having degrees and not getting jobs, I'm sure if they had qualifications in maths and the sciences and engineering instead of sociology, media studies and art, they would do better. Oh. Take a job as a cleaner until you get something better, says Chris.
Find a job as a cleaner and get one.
Another listener says, I teach science at the University of Manchester. Bar one or two individuals, most are lacking in basic numeracy and literacy skills, let alone a work ethic suitable for higher education. We can't do as much as we'd want, and then they go into the real world. And a quick one from Martin. He's emailed from Hull. Wow, our blame culture has now got to the point where it's someone else's fault because they can't get a job. Let me ask you, Sam Giemer, why, on behalf of the Conservatives and the government, why you think the job levels are so high?
Why the job levels are so high?
Sorry, the unemployment levels.
The unemployment levels are so high. I think Hugh mentioned it earlier on. We've got an international dimension to this, i.e., most of the world is in recession at the moment, and we are caught in the eye of that storm.
Can I just ask you then, of any of the, I mean, we've talked about 2.69 million unemployed today, today's figures. Are any of those 2.69 million unemployed because of your own government's cuts?
Well, I mean, I would say that if we're reducing the public sector, obviously there'll be people who are working in the public sector who will now be out of work. But then what our focus is to make sure, to use a phrase that you use, that the private sector picks up from there. And in the last year, there have been 500,000 jobs created by the private sector.
And how do you feel about making people in the public sector redundant in order to bring down that deficit? Is that a price worth paying?
Well, let me explain it. In the last 10 years, up until 2010, the population in this country went up from 58 million to 62 million. During that period, so an increase of 4 million people. During that period, we added 1 million jobs to the public sector. That is clearly not sustainable. And I think we've got to face up to dealing with that problem. But we've also got to recognise, and I think Hayley made a very good point, that in facing up to that problem, there are people and their lives, and we've got to make sure that we help them get through
that needs to be
the
part
challenge.
of your policy.
Well, that's
that
what the
needs to be part of your policy, that those people come first. You haven't lived, hang on, you haven't lived on £67 a week, so who are you to say, this is what we need, this is what you do? You have no concept of what it is like to live in this day and age on £67 a week. So I suggest maybe you take up that gentleman's challenge, and that might make you understand.
I think the most important thing that we can do, the most important thing, and what government should be doing, is helping people get into work as quickly as possible. That's really what we should be focused on. And that is what every energy and every focus within the government is about, sorting out the economic problems so we get growth, but also helping people. And look, the work program, which we haven't touched on so far today, is really about personalized support. So where the problem is transport, and where the problem is CV, where the problem is self-esteem, where the problem is, in some cases, alcoholism, that we help address those personal issues and get people to work.
The work programme is the government's main welfare to work scheme. We've also got the work experience programme, which is obvious, provides work experience placements while you're claiming job seekers allowance. You've also introduced, as you mentioned earlier, subsidising the wages of 160,000 18 to 24-year-olds for 6 months. And you've got the sector-based work academy, 6 weeks work experience followed by apparently a guaranteed job interview. How are they doing? Are they getting people back into work?
Well, I mean, to take the work programme, I mean, which started in June 2011, the latest statistics we had is that 18 to 23% of people that got onto the programme got into work. That's, while that's short of our target of 36%, for the first 9 months or so, that's quite encouraging. Now, I'm not going to rush to say this is an amazing success, but what it shows is that the personalised approach to helping people get into work can work, and we should persist with it. Of course, we'll have to make changes as we learn more about different situations, as we apply to different parts of the country, and as we go through the current economic situation. But I think what it's telling us is that it's the right approach.
Sorry, if you speak when you're not on the microphone, we just can't hear you. So you stick your hand up and a microphone will come to you. Chris Mason is our political reporter. You've got some figures about the various government schemes and how effective they have been so far.
Yeah, just picking up from what Sam was talking about there about the work programme. This was the idea, as Sam was fleshing out, that was set up by the coalition in June of last year. It's a payment by results programme. So the way it works is that private firms and charitable organisations actually deliver it on the ground, and they only get paid when they've found sustainable work for people over a long period of time. So there's an incentive for them to find jobs over the medium to long term. It's very early days with the work programme to judge whether it's been successful or not. Just one figure, though, a couple of figures. Speaking to the umbrella organisation for these private groups that are implementing the work programme, around 1 in 5 of the unemployed people who signed up at the beginning, so last June, have managed to find work since then. But that organisation that represents those groups, Victoria, is saying that they are really, really nervous about an extremely difficult year, as they put it, in 2012, to try and find people work, simply because they say the danger is there aren't the jobs out there. One other statistic as well, the government has spent £63 million terminating welfare to work contracts that the previous government had signed on to with firms. And of that 63 million, there are 10 providers that went on to win contracts from the new government. So compensation was paid to firms to get them off the previous government's contract, and then they were rehired by the current government.
Okay.
It's just crazy.
Well, I mean,
why reinvent
Sorry,
the
go on.
wheel?
On that previous programme that he touched on, at the same time, if you measure I mentioned the results of the work programme, 18 to 23% of people getting work. At the same time, the Flexible New Deal, which is I think the programme you alluded to, had got 1.2% of people into work. So measuring the current approach versus the previous approach, it's not, you know, ideal.
Sure. I mean, the point was you could have been a bit clever about who you were going to take on in your programme, who'd already been doing their programme and not wasted that money. But I take your point. Hello.
Hi, my name's Andy and I'm from Avanta, and we run the work programme in Greater Manchester, the North East and the South East. And it's been really powerful listening
And let's just make it clear to people, you will get paid when you get someone a job. And that job has lasted for 6 months.
Yeah, not just a job. We have to get them into a job and they have to keep the job for up to 6 months
Yes.
and up to 2 years.
Right.
So we really work with people for the long term. But it's been really powerful listening to the audience today, because that's exactly what people are saying when they join the work programme. They feel disillusioned, they don't feel there's a job for them. But in Greater Manchester, we've got 3,000 vacancies available. So there are jobs out there, and our job is to try and connect people to those jobs.
Okay, and are you doing that?
Yes, I mean, it's, as Sam said, it's early days, but initial figures suggest actually performance is looking good.
Okay, but do you find it, I mean, there has been, from contractors like yourself, they say, look, you know, the people who are easy to get into jobs, we've got to do that, or else we've got no cash flow. And those who are longer term unemployed, they still may be unemployed by the time even when you finish with them.
And that's something that we don't recognise, because one of the things about the work programme is you've got up to 2 years to work with someone.
Okay.
So it's not like previous programmes where you just got a few weeks to work with them. So yes, people that are more job ready, we're helping into work quickly, but others, we've got more time to offer, as Sam said, a more personalised service. So some people might need more training, other people might need a brush up of their CV.
So who qualifies for the work programme? Of the people we've heard today, what sort of people?
It's if you've been unemployed and claiming job seekers allowance for 12 months. So if you go into the job centre 12 months, then you'll get referred to the work programme.
Gosh, that's a long time, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, hello.
Hello, I'm Michael from Preston.
Hi, Michael.
I've been out of work for over 12 months. I'm with the work programme and the job centre at the same time. I feel myself that the job centre has basically washed their hands of me. And when I go to sign on, they just, as other people have said, it's a 2-minute meeting. They say, have you been looking for work? Yes. You're with the work programme, aren't you? Yes. Thank you very much. I'll see you out the door. But I've come to the point now at the work programme where I've rewritten my CV and I'm applying for jobs every day. And it's come to the point now where I'm going to the work programme to just to apply for jobs. And the jobs that I'm applying for are at a job centre.
Yeah.
So my point is, why couldn't the job centre, when the employers advertise a job, why couldn't the job centre say, here's a bunch of CVs of people that have been long-term unemployed before the job even goes online?
Yes.
So that the employers can see the people that have been out of work the longest.
But you might not be the best candidate for that job. That's the harsh reality.
Obviously, but I feel that being out of work for 18 months is starting to work against me when I'm applying for a job.
Sure.
And I feel that the work programme is kind of a waste of money, basically, because as I say, I'm just.
But you've only just started it. You don't know that yet.
I've been on it for 8 months.
Oh,
but as I said, now it's come to the point where I've rewritten my CV and I'm just going to the work programme just to show up, show my face, and apply for the jobs that I would do anyway, that I'm doing every day. So when I find a job, the work programme are going to claim, I don't know how much money it is from me, but I'm just doing it off my own bat.
I understand, I understand. Emma Reynolds from the Labour Party and John Leach from the Liberal Democrats. In terms of the job centres, I mean, these aren't new problems. Perhaps they're a lot busier at the moment because the levels of unemployment are going up, or have been for the last 8 months or so. Did you, when you were in government, your party was in government, did you spend much time looking at job centres and how they could be made more effective?
Well, I'd like to say that when we were in government, I was actually going to the job centre because I was unemployed for 4 months in 2008, and I share the feelings that people have about the insecurity, the self-esteem, the knock on the self-esteem that causes you. One of the things I think we must do is increase the support to the job centres, and the work programme that the government has introduced follows very closely on from what we were doing in government. I don't understand why they just couldn't have slightly changed the programme. Well, but they spent £63 million just terminating the contracts from the previous.
But in the long term, they say it will save money.
Well, we'll have to judge them by their results. Obviously, we don't know yet whether that programme is going to deliver. But all I would say is, coming back to the point about the regional divide, the northwest and the northeast has been hit much harder by this government's cuts in terms of the public sector than the rest of the country, and the West Midlands as well has been hit hard. And I just think it is very short-sighted to make such drastic cuts so soon and so deep before you allow the private sector to take up that slack. And as we've seen by the unemployment figures today, the private sector hasn't been able to take up that slack yet. So it's short-sighted of the government, and actually their borrowing figures are going up because there are more people not paying in to the Exchequer, not paying benefits. So it's a self-defeating strategy.
I mean, John, your boss, Nick Clegg, knows about the waste. You're not getting the income tax receipts from people the kind of people we're seeing here today. You're paying higher benefit bills, and you're wasting the talent and skills of these people.
First of all, I need to declare an interest because my girlfriend works for the job centre.
Okay. Is she any good?
Well, I think she's very good at her job.
In her role at the job centre?
But she'll kill me when she's heard that I've mentioned her on the radio. I think the important thing is, in terms of the job centre, first, is that people share those frustrations who work in the job centre, because they feel that successive governments have taken some of the responsibility away from them and put them on other outside organisations, and actually they would like to do more. The gentleman on the other side of the...
That's kind of tough. Someone else is also trying to get people into work. Don't feel bad about it. Just get someone a job.
I think the problem is that because once they've been sent onto the work programme or flexible New Deal before it, the job centre are not expected to do anything, so that they're taken away from their job load. And actually what there needs to be is more joined up thinking between the job centre and the other outside providers to make sure that they're working alongside rather than in competition. Because the gentleman made an absolutely valid point, that ultimately if he gets a job on his own, the work provider will get the credit for it, whereas it was actually his responsibility for getting the job.
Yeah. Over here, gentlemen. Hello.
Hello, I'm Joseph. I'm a member of Youth Parliament. I'm also here with my colleague Hafsa Ali. We're Youth Ambassadors of iGen 3. The fact is, you know, the Future Jobs Fund didn't work. The work programme won't work. You know, and I don't say that...
How do you know?
Well, Hafsa and I consulted Nick Clegg and Chris Grayling on the work programme and youth contract. You know, we've said constructive, positive points. But, you know, there's not one-size solution that fits all. What we need to see is, you know, cross-government, cross-sector, strategic partnerships across our communities to actually solve this issue. But the most important thing is to actually build and support aspiration, because that is the biggest issue we face. All young people, all the people in this room, the one thing that really needs to be made clear today is everyone in this room, everyone who's listening and tuning in today, everyone in this country is talented, and we need to support them. Isn't that right, Hafsa?
Yeah, and actually, just while we're on the topic of job centres, something that has just struck my mind is that let's take the job centre out of the equation and let's just take the two people. You've got the person applying for the job and you've got the employer. Why do we need this middleman? I'm not saying let's scrap job centres. I'm saying let's get the employers in a room with specifically young people, because that is who we are representing today. I'm 17, Joseph's 18. Specifically young people. Get them talking to each other. Get them networking. How can we solve the problem when people don't understand? How can we come up with a solution when people don't understand the problem? That's what we're saying, and that is what iGen 3 is all about. We need to improve relationships between generations, get young people out there. We need to make ourselves stand out from the crowd by going to employers, seeing what they want, employers asking us what I want. It's about a mutual understanding.
And what if you've lost all confidence?
Well, this is it. We cannot... That's a disgusting... I'm sorry, I don't mean to... I'm trying to be harsh on the gentleman who spoke earlier. That was an absolutely horrific story. It's an absolute disgrace that people are feeling that low morale, made to feel isolated in our society. It's an absolute disgrace. We have to support one another, but more importantly, we need to see an ethos like we see with Morrison's, an absolutely fantastic ethos. You know, we need to see corporates taking responsibility, government taking responsibility, and strategic partnerships.
Over here.
Hi, my name's Steve Chandler from Create Foundation, and I just wanted to take a point with the MPs, but also just to pick up on Ali's comment there about supporting each other. We need to focus less on what doesn't work and focus more on what does work. Create Foundation has been going in Manchester now for a couple of months, and we work with young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, but importantly work with some employer partners such as Morrison's and the Salford Council, the NHS in Salford, finding opportunities for people that we put through our training programmes and bring them into work. It delivers. We get young people into work and they stay in that work because we support them through that process. Too much of this debate is about we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do the other. And what we need to focus on more and more is what we can do and chase after that.
Hi, Jan Agger from Fusion 21. We are a social enterprise based in the Northwest. I'd like to challenge the government really on the work programme and the whole thing about DWP, because that's where Job Centre Plus sits as well. When the bids were out for the big prime contractors to get the contract for the work programme, I felt that small social enterprises in the area were used as bid candy. And then when it actually came to delivering, there was too much financial risk to the social enterprises, where so often you get the innovation for job creation, that we just could not engage.
And so are you out of it now?
Yeah, we couldn't do it.
Right.
And Fusion 21 creates 130 jobs a year, so, you know, we were quite nice for them.
Yeah.
But I just felt that we were used, absolutely used.
Can I just give you a little bit more analysis of today's unemployment figures, which have come from our colleagues at Westminster. Today's jobless figures suggest that women are being hit hardest by the rise in unemployment, and that we're increasingly reliant in this country on part-time jobs. Of the 48,000 increase in the number of people becoming unemployed, 32,000 of those were women losing their jobs. This is thought, it's thought reflects the cuts to public sector jobs, where more women tend to work. Older women in particular appear to be vulnerable to losing their jobs, with the number of over 50-year-old women losing their jobs up by 20% over the past year. More of them are losing their jobs. I'm not suggesting necessarily that their experience is any more depressing than if you're a bloke who's lost a job. Let's hear from you today. Hello.
Hello. Most of my experience has been in the public sector. I've had more help, to get back to the job centre bit, I've had more help with 1 hour on the phone with a recruitment consultant 2 weeks ago than I have had in the last 17 months through Job Centre Plus. Not that the people there are lovely, they just don't or can't help you. I can only speak from a point of view of us being a woman, being disadvantaged. Help with retraining and help with doing your CV and getting some feedback from filling in an application form. The one application form I filled in through the Job Centre Plus, I just think it was a box ticking exercise. The cynic in me would say that it was just to prove that I was actually filling in application forms.
Have you worked all your life, Tammy?
Yes.
What's it like for you now then?
Strange. Yeah. To get to part-time working, if you're claiming job seekers allowance, you're allowed to work up to 16 hours in a part-time job. However, the job centre or the government allow you to keep £10 of that part-time working. The rest of it they knock off your benefit. So if you work over, and if you earn over £80 a week, you don't claim job seekers allowance either.
And what do you think of that?
In other words, the minimum wage is now about £80 a week.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm 18. I'm currently employed with Rathbone. But while I'm working for Rathbone, I'm also on apprenticeship as well. I came out of school with no qualifications, but now Rathbone have helped me get my qualifications. I've done my level 2, and I'm working towards my level 3 as well, while in employment. So for young people, I know it's hard to get an apprenticeship, but there's places out there to help you to get an apprenticeship and to set you on track and get your qualifications with that.
And how are you feeling now about it?
I feel like, because I'd had nothing to start off with, and now I'm working towards my MVQ level 3 in business admin, and would like to go on to youth work, so it has really helped me a lot as a woman, personally.
Hi, my name's Jackette. I'm a 56-year-old woman who's just found myself unemployed for the first time in my life. Having brought 6 children up, and towards the age of in my early 40s, managed to get myself re-educated and develop a career in youth work. I now find myself, I've spent years working with young people, helping them to develop their skills and get jobs. I now find myself in the same position as them young people are.
And what's it like competing for the same kind of jobs?
To be honest with you, I've given up.
Why?
I'm only sort of about, the conversations I'm with people. I mean, a comment made. I am trying to use my experiences and trying to create something of my own. Trying to get funding to develop my own sort of work, because I've got a lot of experience and I've done a lot of things, so I know I've got a lot to give.
So you'd like to set up your own business, would you?
I'd really like to set up my own
thing?
business.
Okay.
And I'm sort of like trying to get support with that. And I had one comment that was made to me, because it was like, from a person giving business advice, and bearing in mind I'm not a businesswoman, that's not my background, firing questions at me about viability and all these biz terms I don't understand. And I also felt quite stressed about it. And I said, well, if it doesn't work, I'll find a job. And the comment I got back was, well, at your age, you've got more chance of making this work than getting a job. And I was asked when I was interviewed by the job centre, and I was like, because I've been, I've done a degree, I've done the postgrad, I've done every training that is going that is related. And it was like, yeah, but what else can you do? Because there's no jobs in your area. You're a woman of 56, so what else can you do? So I just said, well, I can clean. And then before I know it, they were finding me opportunities on their computer for cleaning. And it was like...
Have you taken them? Did you take one?
No, and it's part of it. It's sort of like, it's that, I've contributed a lot, and I've never been on benefits. I've brought up 6 children, I've educated myself, I've got to 56. But not so many years ago, I was in a position where I was looking at, maybe I could retire at 60. Then that got took away from women, And not only now could I not retire at 60, because fortunately I have an husband who works, so otherwise I'd be on the breadline. We're going into debt every month because of also my earnings, But my future's completely changed. I went from potentially being able to retire at 60 to know that's gone, being unemployed and needing to earn money. My money's not pin money. No. It pays bills, going into debt, and the longer and longer it goes on, where's it going? And what help is there out there for women? I know everyone's got issues, but...
Sure. I'm going to, before the end of the programme, I do want to ask Sam Gemer about people who want to set up on their own because they've tried everything else. Because I know you have been involved in your own companies, and in fact, in 2005, I think you won the CBI Entrepreneur of the Future Award. So we'll do that before the end. Also, before the end of the programme, we want to talk about the kind of jobs that we might see in this country in the future, because it's probably not going to be in financial services. It's probably not going to be in manufacturing, on a large scale anyway. What kind of jobs? Do introduce yourself, sir. Good morning.
My name's Ian Brinkley, and I'm Director of the Work Foundation in London. Now, I think if we think about the next 10 years, we're going to see growth of jobs in 2 areas. One is there's going to be a lot of high-skilled jobs, high-quality jobs in the professional services, in areas which require technical and managerial skills.
Give us some names of jobs. What kind of roles are you talking about?
Business are going to need a lot more managers. Workplaces becoming a lot more complicated. So it's going to be the managers have got technical specialisations, the people looking after your IT, the people look after HR, the people looking after your communications, the people looking after logistics, a lot of those sort of jobs. A lot of jobs which are professionally qualified. We're going to need more engineers, we're going to need more people who are good with analytical tools, working computers and so on. So it's in those sort of professional technical areas. The second area we'll see a lot of growth is in care. There are 2 things we can't escape: taxes and death. The population is getting a lot older. There's going to be a lot of new work coming through in personal caring jobs. And we're going to see growth in retailing, hospitality and leisure. So more traditional jobs, but lower paid than the ones at the top. And the ones which are going to contract are in the middle. So fewer manual jobs, fewer admin and clerical jobs. And governments can speed up or slow down bits of that, but fundamentally they can't change that pattern of job growth.
Okay. I mean, hearing Ian talk, does that make anybody feel particularly optimistic? You didn't talk about green technology, Ian. What about jobs in that area? In? Green technology.
There'll be 4 areas of growth, I think. One is business services, which is where a lot of the high-end jobs are going to be. There's going to be in the low-carbon economy. And it depends a lot on what government policy actually says. We could create vast numbers of jobs in terms of maintenance and installation and repair of energy efficient measures, whether that's solar panels on houses or just making houses more energy efficient. There's a big scope there to create jobs. Other areas, cultural and media, that's going to grow over time. and this care sector, anything related to the care sector, is going to see growth over time.
There's a gentleman over here. I think you have a question about these future jobs.
Well, it's a comment, really.
Yes.
We're a small employer, and we're a web design company. Mike Hawkins, by the way, set your sights. We're a web design company, and we took on an apprentice, Jack here, about 4 months ago. And it's something we would never have considered, because traditionally, web design, you're looking at graduates. Jack's somebody who's a high achiever in school, didn't want to go down the degree route, didn't want all the debt. We didn't really know much at all about apprentices. We're just fortunate that there's a company, Scientium, we did their website and they manage apprentices. And Jack was having work experience with us at the time, and we were just really, really lucky that two things came together. I'd recommend to anybody out there who's in business, small business, if you're looking to get really good employees, I would definitely look at the apprenticeship scheme. Look at young people. You know, we've got somebody here who's really, he's probably going to want a wage rise now, but he's really, really motivated.
Well, just out of interest, what is an apprenticeship rate per hour?
Well, I get about £180 a week, but that's just down to Mike here being quite generous. But
sure, because a normal apprentice rate it's just over £2 an hour.
Yeah, it can be quite low.
If you're under 19.
But I'd like to raise just the fact that when I was in school, everyone pushes you down the university track, but no one really spoke about apprenticeships other than, you know, engineering ones like Airbus and TTE and all those sort of things.
Which raises another question from both of you, Mike and Jack. Is it still going to be worth getting a degree in the future? Your responses to that I'd be really interested in. Gentlemen here, got more ideas about the jobs that we're going to see in this country in the future, where they're going to come from?
Absolutely. I think, I work for Go Augmented. We're an AR company, augmented reality, and we work with mobile... Right, sorry, yeah. We work with mobile phones. So if you can think, most people may have a smartphone, you may not, but you can basically put your smartphone up and you can see any bit of graphical information. We can overlay over the top anywhere you are in the world. So it's an advertising revolution, basically. But more importantly, it's an education.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, I think so, yeah, thanks. I'm going to say, we've got to see it. It's an emerging technology. And this is my point, really. If you look at mobile phone apps, another emerging technology, 5 years ago in America, they employed no people. Now, 500,000 people are in mobile phone app development. Therefore, the government has to get behind these new technologies. This is a fantastic opportunity.
And for people to work in mobile phone app technology... Yeah,
we have to have universities that start training them in this kind of thing. We've got to have a better skilled workplace. Remember, you know, England's a global marketplace here. You know, we're going to have to be highly skilled. We're going to have to get people behind it. And just to cover a couple of other points, there is help for small businesses out there. You just got to look for it. It's like Startup Britain's out there. If you're a graduate entrepreneur, there's something called NACU that helps graduate entrepreneurs. The lady over there who's plus 50, something's called Prime, that helps small businesses start up as well. So there is the help out there. You've just got to be a bit more, maybe a bit more proactive and go and get it.
Sure. Thank you for that.
Yeah, Peter O'Reilly from Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service. I know that a colleague has just talked about those that have got good qualifications or entrepreneurial and innovative, but we deal mainly with the young people in society that people in the room have talked about that have low self-esteem and need to get those qualifications and the skills to employ. If I told you the Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service over the last 2 years had over 1,000 young people through its schemes and provided them with over 2,000 recognised qualifications which made them employable.
I'll be really impressed.
I would tell you that the Fire and Rescue Service right across the UK is doing exactly the same. Next year we're going to increase the schemes that we provide for young people that can help with CV skills, interviewing skills, how to find a work placement, how to achieve the completion of that work placement, and how to make themselves employable to the employers within Greater Manchester. We're going to increase those schemes from 18 to 21 next year. There's a number of schemes right across the UK that are doing this, and I know the Fire and Rescue Service hasn't been lauded in the past, but I would like to say that from a Fire and Rescue Service point of view, we are showing the leadership to our young people.
Can we start lauding the Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service, please? Thank you. Seriously, we didn't know about that. That is really interesting. Yes, hello.
Good morning, my name is Lloyd Thomas. I'm the Group Apprenticeship Manager for the Cooperative. And just picking up on the point on apprentices, really, we had 401 people go through an apprenticeship programme last year across one of the many cooperative businesses.
So what sort of thing are they learning?
Funeral directing, finance, legal services, farming, many aspects of many different job roles and really different skill sets. This year we're looking to double that figure to 800, and to pick up on several points this morning that the people that we've seen coming and applying for those job roles have been really, really good applications. Certainly within our head office environment where we were looking to recruit 10, we probably had about 600 applications. But the biggest difficulty was actually choosing the one person, because the 4 people that were coming for interview, any one of those people could have done that job role and they would have done it really, really well. So I think there's a really positive message there, and they're an absolute asset to the business, picking up on the young lady at Rathbones and the gentleman behind. Absolute asset, and to see them only within 3 or 4 months. We've got a guy at the moment who's working in IT marketing, and to see your apprentice's name as the author on the bottom of your intranet articles is fantastic.
We've got a few minutes left here on 5 Live and the BBC News Channel. Let me read some messages, a mixture of texts and tweets. Matt in Wigan, I apply for at least 120 jobs a week, including refuse collection, warehousing. I'm unemployed. I've been unemployed for 6 months and I'm 23 with a degree in history. What is the future? Peter on the M25 says, Victoria, it sounds like you've assembled a room of lazy people, all too happy to blame someone else for their lack of both drive and initiative. I'm a student, and in the last 8-week holiday I got from my course, I went round all the garages in Leicester looking for work. I found 3 jobs due to getting off my backside. Get out there and knock on doors, you lazy people. Fleur on Twitter says, Fleur Jones says, I hate hearing over and over and over how hard it is to get a job on the same day we get our graduation dates. Nosheen says, how can anybody blame the unemployed for not getting out there and making their own luck? Nobody chooses to become redundant.
I'd just like to point out, future jobs, what you've just been talking about. I can't see any of them relevant to my sector, to be honest, in construction. I can't see any future in it whatsoever. So it's okay saying, there's going to be future jobs there for other sectors, but some of what you've just been talking about means starting from scratch again, training for something else.
Could you face that?
I could if there was something offered to me there. But I couldn't see myself starting from scratch in something like future technology and things like that. It knocks people's confidence in some ways like that. I'm very intimidated, about future technology and stuff, and I'm young.
What does that mean for the rest of us?
Yeah, exactly.
Lady next to you, hello.
Hi, I'm Liz Bromley from the University of Salford. There's been a lot of comment about students, whether it's work going to university, whether there's jobs for them at the end of it. I'd like to point out that when there is a job, because jobs will come, we will come out of this recession, we will come out of the depression. If you've got a qualification, the more qualified you are, the more you earn. If you've got an A-level, you'll earn £12,000 more a year on average than someone who's just got GCSEs. If you've got a degree, you'll earn £85,000 more on average over the course of your lifetime. The main thing when you are a student, though, is to take advantage of all the opportunities at university. Get yourself a work placement, get your CV checked, go to your Careers and Employability Service and take advice from them, and then get out there and don't just wait for jobs that are advertised. Promote yourself to employers and tell them what they're missing. We've had people here saying 4 really good applicants could do any job. Those 3 disappointed applicants need to go out there and sell themselves, but don't write off higher education. It's another way of going forward.
Okay. Sam Geema, would you recommend running your own business? I know you've tried it a number of times. Some have been done all right. Some have gone into administration and receivership. Would you recommend it?
I definitely recommend it. It's very rewarding. I mean, the job I was in beforehand was before that was advising, and it's certainly more exciting doing things than actually advising. So I'll definitely recommend it. But I think what you need, obviously, if you want to start your own business, is you need a network of support out there to help you, because most people have 1 or 2 of the skills to start a business, but not all of the skills. And so what you need is you need that in place. And I mean, the gentleman over here mentioned Startup Britain. That's one of them. And there's also, I think, another scheme the government are promoting, Business in You, which is for people who need office space. So the government is making available office space in public sector buildings for people who need it. There is the New Enterprise Allowance, which actually gives mentorship, but also cash as well to help you start up and build that business plan. Now that's modeled on a program that was around in the 80s that led to the creation of Creation Records, which backed Oasis, that Tracy Emin did well out of that, and Superdry did well out of that. So I know I've come up with a lot of schemes, and people probably think, well, politicians, schemes, but these schemes actually can work. And I think what I would leave and sign off with is, you know, we just need to, maybe what government needs to do is make people more aware of these schemes, and also people to look for them. And, you know, let's get stuck in it. They can work, and as the lady said before, we will get out of this recession, and we'll hopefully put all of this behind us.
I know you think you get brownie points for mentioning Oasis here, but that is so 1990s. But thank you very much. Thank you to viewers of the BBC News Channel. Yes, hello.
Yeah, I just want to speak about the growth that was referred to in the care area. I mean, when we're looking at the growth in the care area, we're talking about privatisation, because we're looking at people...
Still employ people. Private sector does not always equal bad. They
but
still
the problem
employ
is that the providers...
Well, let's leave that 5 Live special debate there. Much more about the unemployment situation, of course, after midday. Just to tell you news that's been coming through from Honduras in the last half an hour.